Hi, and welcome to this episode of Little Sprout Speech TV. Grab your pen and paper because today we are talking about how to help your kiddo follow another kid's rules. So we've been chatting a lot over on our Facebook page, and one thing that occurred just through conversation with you guys is that not only does your child have a hard time learning to make friends and play with friends, but once they do, they really have a hard time following anybody else's ideas or letting somebody else pick the game or changing it up from their rules or their routine that they have in mind, which can really then interfere in keeping friends, right? So that's the flip side of our mini series that we're launching in a week, is not just how to make friends, but how to keep those friends around too and have your child enjoy that experience. So I'm going to give you 3 tips. So tip number 1 is, before we can expect your child to go out and do this successfully with peers, we need to have them doing this at home with you. Or if they're working with a speech therapist or another therapist in their sessions, really. This is something that you could work on there as well. And the goal here, the idea here, is that we need to get them to understand that it is okay, they are safe, they can still be happy when we change things up and when it's not exactly the way they may have wanted to do it. But we have to have that conversation with them for them to understand that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, once they understand that, then we might want to bring in a friend so that they can practice with the friend, right? So they practice with you, they practice with one friend, not a lot of pressure. If it doesn't work out the first time, not a problem. We can bring them back a week later, try again. But the goal here is that start with that one peer, right? That one friend, and work on helping them make changes by turn taking. And what do I mean by that? So maybe first your kiddo gets to decide, hey, this is the first rule of the game. They set the rule. Everybody says, okay, that's Johnny's rule. And then next we say, hey, I think Amy has a rule she'd like to add to the game too. Amy gets to set a rule. And then maybe mom, if you're involved, or dad, if you're involved, or therapist or teacher, whoever, you as somebody involved in playing this game gets to set a rule as well. So what's happening here is everybody's taking turns setting rules, and we're very strategically working in rules that your child will understand and maybe more okay with, because we've kind of worked it in a pattern and in sort of a routine. And the more you practice this, the more they'll be okay with the idea of other people giving input and not always following just that plan they had in their head. And sometimes we can tell them, sometimes it's okay, but other times other friends, if we want to play with them, they want to contribute too. So that's the idea here. Tip number 3 is that we want to pair the strategy with the mini series. Hello, that's Mr. Kobe in the background over there, walking through the kitchen. We want to pair the strategy with our mini series. And so what I actually did was, because I realized how many of your kiddos struggle. We all know that the routines can be really tough to break, but how many of them really struggle with it after the fact of making some friends? We want to help them keep those friends. I've made an additional mini story that I'm adding into the series that will launch on August 31st. And it's a bonus one. It's for free, so the price is not changing. But I wanted you guys to have that. I think it's really important. So that bonus story will be there. And I hope that it helps, since I know it's such a challenge for many of our kiddos. So let's, I'll link it below, but let's review. Tip number 1 was first to work on changing up some rules, where you're giving the input and changing the rules with your kiddo at home, just you guys. Then tip number 2 is to add in a friend and kind of take turns changing up those rules in a game, or, in a play schema, whatever you're working on. And tip number 3 was to pair it with the mini stories that we're launching. So I hope this helps. I look forward to talking to you guys same time, same place next week. This is Hallie Balkin signing off.